Well, the way I've been going up to now is if I need to file the spine of a knife, I'd clamp it just in this big bench vise and, you know, file out here. You can't really, you got to flip the knife around because of the angle of the vise. You can't get any steep angles on it. So then if I wanted to file on the blade, I take the same wood blocks, I flip them over, and I've got another little vise that I would clip on. Then I can put the knife in the second vise, which puts this thing up kind of high. So I was wanting to get a knife maker's vise that I can mount down lower, maybe even low enough I could just sit in a normal chair, because sometimes you're hand sanding, you're going to be there for a while. I don't really have any plans or anything. I've just looked at a lot of pictures online and see what other guys are doing. And first step, you're going to have to find you 2 pieces of tubing that not really thin wall either, or you're going to have trouble, but they need to fit inside each other. They don't have to be perfect. They could be, you know, like this side here. There's probably 1/8 of an inch gap there. They're not a perfect fit. Close. I got these from my brother-in-law's scrap bin for free, so they're 9 3/4, almost 10 inches long. That's what I'm starting with. So I've got to kind of just decide how long I want this piece to be, and I was looking at just some in-progress blades that appear pretty good representation of what these would be more normal size hunting knives. And this is a big one I've profiled. I haven't started on it, but I can't see ever making a blade any bigger than that. But what I was thinking was, all the handles are relatively similar. They're going to be clamped with about the space my hand's covering. So the inner piece of pipe will actually be the clamp. You know, I only need about half of this material. So there's probably, actually there may be enough of this to make 2 vises. So I'm going to cut this piece in half. This will be the inner part of the clamp. And I'm only probably going to clamp about the length of the Sharpie, either the handle or the blade, whichever way you have it in there. And the other consideration you need to make is, you know, do you only make pocket knives? Are you making hunting knives? The width of the blade is going to matter to what pipe you pick. This one has an ID of 2 1/8, which for most of your normal knives would be fine. You know, it's going to be, this one has a pretty good curve to it, so it'll be offset completely when it's clamped, but this blank would be about as wide as I'd ever go. So the 2 1/8, I think, will cover me. I can't imagine ever, I don't see myself making any blades wider than 2 inches unless I'm making a cleaver or something, and at that time I'll just come up with something else. So here you're keeping score. My inner piece ended up at 4 3/4. There's no reason. It's just pretty much exactly half of the piece I started with. Like I said, there's no plans. I'm gonna drill a hole on each end and tap it for the clamps. And just a little tip: if you need to draw you need to drill 2 holes in the length of a pipe, and you want to make sure they're exactly in line with each other, grab you a decent sized piece of angle iron, clamp it, or just hold it on there tight. It's going to be straight, no way around it. You draw a line on there. You know, anywhere you drill along that line now, you're going to be perfectly in line. Now you can use whatever size bolt or tap you want. I happen to use a 3/8 16, about the most common bolt I have in my shop. And this is the reason I said earlier you don't want your pipe to be really thin. This may not work. You need enough wall thickness that you can get a couple threads in there. This is not going to have a lot of torque on it. It's just going to be hand tightened to hold a knife in there, but you know, if it wears out over time, I could probably just weld a nut on the outside here. But my original plan was I didn't want a nut sticking up in case I ever wanted to slide this out of the outer sleeve real easy. So I'm going to start with this. We'll see how it works. Okay, my outer sleeve is only going to have one bolt or clamp, right, and it's probably going to clamp right in the middle. So the length of it, it just needs to land between these two bolts here. So I'm going to make it, let's just say 2.5 inches. That'll be about right. Now I need to drill a hole right in the middle. I'll have one more bolt here. Alright, now with the two pieces made, the inner piece that'll have your knife in it can be turned, and then you can flip it upside down, work on both sides, wherever you want it. As usual, my design a lot of times is dictated by what's in my scrap box. I found this piece of 1/4 inch, I don't know, maybe thicker, it feels kind of thin. It's a little more than 1/4 inch, I'm not sure what that is. I don't even remember what it came off of, but piece of steel like that, I can't stand to throw it away, so it always comes back. Here it is. I got the licking. It lays in there pretty good. I just kind of drew those black lines on the side there would be a 1/4 inch, you know, right on the center. I think that's about perfect. So I think this piece I'm going to chop it right there for my top jaw, then the rest of it will be the bottom jaw. Okay, here's where I was going with that. Cutting that slot and got a flat ground in on both sides with this lip on both ends. My thinking is that bottom table will be captured in there with just the notch, and if you need to rotate, I don't know, we'll see. May not be worth it. I may have to mount it permanently, but I'm gonna try. On my top jaw, I'm just gonna 45 both edges so that it'll sit up in the pipe a little higher, give me a little bit more travel. Now I've got my holes drilled on the centers, and on the bottom I'm going to put a 3/4 inch end mill, and I'll make a pocket over my through holes for the washer and snap ring to ride in. Okay, here's the pocket. It's got a 1/4 inch through hole. That's a 3/4 inch pocket. This is what I was after. Got a snap ring in there with a washer. There's a shoulder on, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a shoulder on this side. There you can see a little. It'll press down on the shoulder to clamp. Pull back out with the snap ring. And if I should ever want to take it apart, it's not in there permanent. And I even turned my stud down a little just to make this fit a little loose. That way if there's any minor alignment issues, it shouldn't bind up anywhere. Here's a little better look at one of these T-nuts or T-bolts. I just took some, you know, a standard 3/8 inch bolt, and I put it in the lathe, turned the shoulder down to around 1/4 inch. I don't remember the exact measurement. And I just took a 60-degree threading tool and made the groove there, the V groove for the snap ring. this point, you could, a couple different ways you could mount it to the bench. One way I see some people do is they'll take the vise and they'll just weld a piece of metal onto the bottom of it, and then you can just clamp it into your bench vise with that tab, you know. But I want mine to be a little bit more maneuverable than that. I've got a piece of that smaller tubing. I've put a fish mouth in there to where I'm going to weld mine on there like that. But I know a lot of these vices I see online, everybody's made them like this where all three knobs are in line. Well, I'm thinking about rotating mine because really I just think it'd be cleaner, easier to, if you put this clamp knob at a 45, I mean, these are going to spend most of their life either there or there. Seems like it'd just be a little cleaner to me not to have all those knobs lined up like that. Okay, cut another piece out of the scrap bin. Cut a piece off. This will be my base plate. You can see I've already center punched the corners for 4 holes. This piece here is going to be welded on. It's a piece of that larger diameter tubing. Alright, welding's done. This piece here I just put about a 2-inch weld. I didn't go all the way around both sides. I just put about a 2-inch on both sides. It's gonna set in its base. Of course, you guys have probably seen these vices before, how they work, but I'm not real crazy about my wing nut knobs. I may make a little nicer knob. And then this tubing is actually stainless steel. My base is regular mild steel. But I think I'm going to maybe sandblast the whole thing, kind of clean it up, make some little different style knobs. One of my other videos, I took a Harbor Freight bandsaw apart and made it into a kind of a benchtop vertical bandsaw. This is the round rod that the saw tilted on, and like always, I can't throw anything away. It found its way into my scrap box. I think I'm going to use it to make some knobs. Alright, here's some pieces chopped up. I'm going to weld them on my bolts to kind of make T-knobs. But I think I'm going to take them over to the belt grinder and dress them up a little. You'll also want to round the ends of your set screws on the outer tube and the one on the base. I've noticed that when you leave them square, it really causes it to walk around, and it's hard to make it stop precisely where you want. The one on the left that's rounded, when you clamp it down, it's real positive, doesn't walk around. Okay, there's some T-knobs, homemade of course. Not super pretty, but they work good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and help for a second. If you guys weren't convinced that I was a cheapskate yet by my talk of everything coming out of the scrap bin, well, take a look at my sandblaster. This will go ahead and prove it for sure. All free, just like the knife vise. This is a free 55-gallon barrel I got somewhere. The base was in the trash. It was actually the cabinet to a forklift battery charger. Took all the guts out, just used the cabinet. The shop vac I also found in the trash. I don't know why somebody threw it away. There's nothing wrong with it. Of course, I didn't get any of the attachments, but it works fine. So, but can't turn down free. Inside the sandblaster, the hopper, that's actually made out of the sheet metal from my brother's dryer that he threw away. The only thing I bought new was the gloves. I bought those from Eastwood, I think it seems like, but there's a light that came off of some old junk desk or something inside of it, and I just use window panes. Again, free. You can get free pieces of window pane everywhere. And on a large part, the whole end actually comes off with these wing nuts. But on small parts like this knife vise, I just take the glass, open the glass, and set the part in, right through this piece of glass. And then you can work it just like a normal sandblasting cabinet. Alright, so there it is. I'm a cheapskate, I admit it. Okay, we're getting close. I got a little primer and some paint. Looking pretty good. I like my little knobs, they came out pretty good. I don't know if they're going to show up good on there. They came out pretty good. Anyway, the last step, I got to put some rubber on the inside jaws of the clamp, and for that I'm going to use some the treadmill belt. I've got a free treadmill that I converted into a tumbler, but I kept the rubber belt, and I've used it for quite a few things already. It's pretty handy. And some liquid nails construction adhesive should hold it together. Before I glue this piece on the top jaw, I've got these 3/4 inch pockets for my snap rings and stuff to go in to make my jaw removable. And since I'll need to be able to get to those, I gotta make those holes in this top piece of rubber. I've got a 3/4 inch Forstner bit in there. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how good it'll work on this rubber. And the way I'm going to mount this thing is with some 1/4 inch T-nuts. I use these for woodworking jigs and stuff. You've probably got some in your junk drawer too. They're just 1/4 T-nuts. Drill a hole in your bench to fit that nut right there. It's bigger than a 1/4. It's like 0.28 or something. But once you have those pulled in from the back, they're there for good. And like everybody's got their parts bins, I found 2 of these in there. I don't even remember where I got them. I've had them forever. I only have 2 of them. What I realized after I drilled up, put 4 holes in there, just those I don't know what you call those, knurled nuts, thumb nuts. Just 2. That thing is rock solid. So I don't even know that I needed to put 4 T-nuts under there. Location here, I've got T-nuts in there so I can have it up on the bench. This is probably where I would use it most of the time. But I also put some in the face of the bench, and I thought, well, if you've ever wanted to work on a really long knife, let me get it turned around here. You needed it to hang through. You could put it there. And I even made another place down here where I can either just store it when I'm not using it on this, or I can sit in just a normal chair, down closer to the ground if don't want to sit on a bar stool, because this bench is kind of high. Okay, about to wrap it up here. I'm liking it. Let me show you what my thoughts were on this bottom jaw. It's not in there right now. If you remember earlier, I was grinding some notches in the side here, and my thinking was, and you know, I've got rubber on them now too. My thinking was these notches grab in there. I thought, well, you can slide it in there. It keys in. So if you're, you know, hand sanding the blade, it's got your a work platform. And which, I don't know, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you could just spin the whole thing. But my thoughts were, well, if I don't want to loosen any T-nuts, I can just pull this out, turn it around. It sits right back in the same, locks into the same notches. You know, now you can work on the handle side of it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll use that feature or not. It's there. It may be easier when you want to change to just spin the whole thing around. I don't know. I'm liking it. Well, I found another application for this knife vise other than just sanding, hand sanding, and filing. Say you got a natural piece of handle material like this bone. Well, when you go to drill through your blank into for your pinholes, you can clamp this on there somehow. But when you go over to your drill press, how do you clamp something down that's round and make sure you're drilling the holes square? And you know, both sides have to be square to each other so the pin will go through there. And the vise actually come in handy for that too. Let me show you how I'm doing that. Okay, first off, you have to make sure that your milling machine table or your drill press table is level. But take this off your bench, carry it over there, and combination of all the set screws, I can adjust this thing. You know, I got it clamped in there right where I want it, and then I can adjust this thing around until I get it level. I get it level in two directions. Well, now I know that it's square. I can drill my holes, and both sides are repeatable. Just keep it all level. It works pretty good. If you wonder why I called this 46-cent knife maker's vise on my title, well, here you go. Everything on this I scrounged for my shop, except I could not find 2 snap rings small enough. And I had a bunch of them, but none this small. So I actually had to buy 2 snap rings, 23 cents each. So there you have it, 46-cent knife maker's vise.